Hello, finally a very long-awaited video, by me at least, probably not any of you, but we're going to be rebuilding the Scott family home that I have in Oasis Springs. So first thing, before we really get into anything, I want to show you them in cast. So this is Aubrey Scott. He's like, he's a teacher, so just very kind of classic teacher outfits. He's kind of giving Will Schuster, which is not the intention. Then this is my queen, Devin Scott. She's an actress. Then they have 3 kids. I started with the baby. This is their youngest son, Forrest. And he's gonna be a geek when he's older. Then this is Dylan. And he has like kind of like the downtown girl aesthetic, but for a boy, if that makes sense, like downtown boy. And then this is their oldest kid, Catherine Scott, the Catherine Scott. And she's like a Frutiger Arrow baddie, okay? You'll see her room, because her room is the only one I decided to keep, so I saved it to my library and then just like stuck it on the lot. Yeah, so one thing, actually first, as always, my main channel will be linked in the description of this video. If you're interested in my day-to-day life, you should go check that out. I post on there twice a week, every Tuesday and Saturday. Now, one thing that really killed me is my game recently has been like super crazy laggy, and it'll get stuck on the loading screen and on the saving screen like a million times, and it just makes me lose my mind, okay? So I actually already built this whole house pretty much last night, and then I got stuck on the saving screen, so it didn't save. So then today I went through my mods folder like a million times. I went like crazy and deleted some stuff, and my game seems to be working okay, but I was still nervous about it, so I went and saved it a million times, if you notice me saving a million times throughout this. Yeah, okay, so I decided to rebuild their house because, like I said, I'm gonna do this whole save file like from scratch, from me. So before, this was just an in-game house, and I had just like gone in and furnished it, so I decided to keep Catherine's room because I worked really hard on it. Everything else was just kind of boring. I brought a couple things in the household inventory, but Catherine's room is so special to me because she's like, I didn't really show you her room actually, but she's like Frutiger Arrow, and I love it. Wait, why did I not give like a room tour? What the freak? Okay. And I tried to like up my Mediterranean style architecture. I'm getting there, guys. Trust. I feel like when I did the Russos, it was not that good. I did actually go back and change a couple things about their houses just to make it more like, I don't know, accurate, I guess, more interesting. But I tried to up my game here. Probably at some point in the future when I'm further into like Oasis Springs, I'm gonna go back and do some like more little modifications to it, but this is at least just like the general idea of what we got going. So I have like the hallways around the house, and then I wanted to do a cute little courtyard in the back, which I like pretty much didn't end up putting anything in. I really struggle with outdoor stuff. Like, I want my Sims to have like yards and all this stuff, but then I never have anything I want to put in it. Also, smartly, I like did all of my windows and things really first. Okay, let's get into the lore. So, okay, just like Victor Russo, you know, he's a young adult with a child sim, so let's say he's like 27, hypothetically, because I feel like young adult sims are around that age, you know, like 25 to 30-ish. Then it would have been a teen pregnancy situation, which I did talk about in the video on them, and so the same thing applies here with the Scott family. They are 2 young adults with a child sim, so it was also a teen pregnancy situation when Aubrey and Devin were in high school. I also really like, I didn't actually do this intentionally, I picked names that I felt like fit them, but then it just so happens that like Aubrey has typically a girl's name and Devin has typically a boy's name, and it's like the other way around. I thought that was cute. But okay, I'm gonna start with Aubrey's lore, I think, because Devin's lore is kind of tied into Aubrey's lore. What am I even talking about? Okay, so Aubrey, I I have his family made, like his parents and his siblings. At some point soon there's going to be a video on that. Not really anytime soon. It's in the schedule. It's going to be happening in the future. It's hard for me to say soon when I only post once a week, you know, but in I think probably about a month or so, and then we're going to go in and take a bunch of family photos and all that too. But yeah, so he grew up really poor. His parents are named Mindy and Henry, and then he has 3 younger siblings. He has a younger brother, Sean, who's also a young adult, though, and then 2 teenage sisters. They're twins, Lillian and Evelyn. So you're gonna see all of them in the video I do on them when I remake their little spot. Really quick, I was kind of struggling with the roofs here, but I like how this turned out at the end from the outside. I mean, I feel like it could use more, like, decoration. It feels a little plain still, but I do have to say I do think I'm getting better at this style of building. Yeah, so he grew up super poor, like, lived in a trailer, he and his parents and his siblings, and then he and Devin started dating in high school, which was awesome and great. And then Devin ends up pregnant, and so Devin's like, what the frick? Okay? So she goes to tell her parents, and now this is where we get into her lore. So, she's an actress, yes, but she's also a Nepo baby. If you watched the video where I built those, like, apartments, not the brownstones, but the little apartments out in Newcrest, then you will know that her mom is a model, because I made some Sims that have done some modeling work with her mom. So her mom's name is Portia, and her dad's name is Conrad. They're the Carmichaels. I also have them made, but I'm also not showing them in this video. They aren't super important, but yeah, so she's like a Nepo baby, in a sense. Both of her parents are famous. In my head, obviously her mom's a model, but in my head her dad is a director. In terms of game purposes, I also just have him in the acting career, but to me, he's a director. And she's their only child. Yeah, so she grew up super rich, so it's kind of like this kind of opposite situation. She grew up super rich, and Aubrey grew up super poor, and so then she starts dating him, and I think she was dating him in secret. Me personally, that's what I think, because I think she knew that her parents would think badly of her dating a poor dude. No hate to Aubrey, I love him. Really quickly, the 2 rooms that I just put stuff in are the baby and the toddler's rooms, and I left them really, really plain. Like, I did their wallpaper and their carpet, but they're not, like, cute or anything, just because, no hate, I don't really care, because they're a baby and a toddler. Like, I don't care about making their rooms look nice. They're not even, like, doing anything. And, oh my god, another thing that I've noticed throughout this, I completely, like, redo this halfway through, because I guess, when I'm building, love to do houses that are, like, light blue and white. I love that, because Victor and Theodore Russo, their whole house is light blue and white. And then I realized, like, actually insanely far into this, that I was doing the exact same thing with them. And I was like, I can't do that. So then I had to change up the color combination, and I went for dark brown and blue instead, which I think it turned out good. I don't know. I just, sometimes, I feel like I don't suffer from, like, well, actually I do kind of suffer from, like, same face syndrome with my Sims. I feel like I'm gonna end up suffering with, like, same build syndrome, because everything is just gonna end up looking the same, because there are just so many things that I just like this certain wallpaper, so I just always use the same things over and over again, but I need to work on that. Anyways, so she's secretly dating Aubrey, and then she ends up pregnant with Catherine, and so she's like, man, I do need to go tell my parents, and they're like, what the frick? So this is crazy. They disown her, and she moves into the trailer with Aubrey and his parents, and his siblings. And then they had Catherine, eventually got married after college, I think, in my head. Which I haven't done all the photos for Laura and everything, but that's at least what I think is gonna happen. Or, well, already has happened. And then they had Dylan and Forrest. So there is kind of an age gap. I get that, like, obviously in the Sims, there are just certain age categories, and so we have infant, toddler, child, which is kind of a big gap from toddler to child, but to me... Oh, also, Devin is a painter. Not, like, professionally, but she paints on the side. So this is kind of like their little study with, you know, a computer and a bookshelf, and then the little painting stuff. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. But there is actually an age gap between, like, Catherine and Dylan in particular, because in my head, Dylan is around 3, he's the middle child, and Forrest, the baby, is around 1, so they're, like, 2 years apart. But Catherine is, like, 9, 10 or so. Because, like, to me, Theodore Russo is, like, 10, and so Catherine is also, like, 10-ish, because they're best friends. So, yeah, I'm not fully sure. Well, see, I was about to say, I'm not fully sure how, like, the Scotts know the Russos, but then I was like, well, they don't need to have a reason. They could just be because Catherine and Theodore are friends from school. Because, I mean, I was thinking about, like, why do Devin and Aubrey know Victor? And it's like, they don't have to. It could just be that their kids are friends. With some of the other parents, though, that you haven't seen yet, since Devin is a famous actor, there's this one guy. This is crazy and was fully unintentional by me. I have a sim named Adonis, and then I also have a sim Aubrey, and so I feel like I'm referencing Drake all over the place, completely accidentally. Like, I did not mean to do that at all. And then after I did that, like, months after I named them, I was like, oh my god, like, what am I doing? But because Devin's an actor, she met Adonis because he's a fan, and they were just, like, at a park. And so now they're, like, friends because they have kids in the same age group, which I love that family so much. Oh my god. See, that's the thing, is, like, we're getting into the point where we're really seeing some of, like, my main original families. We still haven't even gotten to the Rivers family, which is who this save file is named after, who was, like, the very first family I made. But it just makes me so happy because with most of the other people I've showed you, except for literally the Russos, like, they were made later, and I'm making their lore, like, now. Like, the whole stuff with the Yamashita family, I came up with that, like, last week in the middle of the night. Like, that hasn't been planned out very long. I thought about it and I did it. But it's like, now we're getting into the stuff that has been, like, in the works for 2 years, you know? And it just makes me so happy, because, like, this is truly what this sounds so corny, but truly, some of the sim families that I've made, I am just so passionate about, and I'm just so happy that we're finally starting to get there, because I just want to talk about them, because I love them so, so, so much. Yeah, so they are all super close to each other and to Aubrey's family. I haven't thought about it too much. I don't think that the kids know the Carmichaels, their grandparents, Devin's parents. I don't think they know them, because since they, like, disowned Devin, first of all, I don't think she would go back on that and let her kids see them. And to be honest, I don't think they have an interest in seeing the kids either. At least not right now. Maybe more so when Catherine's, like, a teen. And I feel like, you know, this might be some crazy stuff for Laura in the future. I feel like they would be more fine with seeing Dylan and Forrest than Catherine, because Catherine's the teen pregnancy baby. You know what I'm saying? You catch my drift. Now, some stuff I wasn't thinking about when I was making my video on the Russos. Oh, this is just a fun little kind of game room with a balcony. BT dubs. So I just put some card stuff here. I was, like, really struggling with this table for a really long time. I don't know why. because it was just really not even that deep. Anyways, one thing I didn't talk about when I was talking about the Russos is Ileana's family, so Theodore Rousseau's mom's family, because if you remember, his mom is, like, dead. I didn't talk about their family. I think, as well, I don't know if they have already, because they were also upset that Ileana was pregnant as a teenager. And, oh my god, I have to burp really bad. I'm so sorry. So, like, I don't know if they have tried to meet Theo. I feel like, unlike Devin's parents, Ileana's parents, who are not made yet, but they're made in my head, are more willing to try, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like, and is it authentic? I don't know, but they're at least more willing to go back on their word and be like, oh, well, now I want to see you. I don't know how I feel about it, but yeah. What I'm making right now is Aubrey and Devin's room, which I think is quite cute. One thing I struggle with in The Sims is I always make my houses too big. And so, like, I feel like I end up having a lot of empty space. Because it's like I designed the shape of the house, but then I don't actually have enough stuff to fill it. And so, like, their room is huge. And I ended up doing this whole thing where I made, like, little inlets, and then I had to go do it on the other side, which is actually good, because I thought that the guest room was too big as well. But their room still just feels too big. Their kitchen and dining room, and all, like, the whole thing just feels a little huge. And I really struggled with the roof here for, like, no reason. So at some point as well, when I go to, like, revamp it again, I might downsize it a little bit. And then also in terms of lore stuff, I'm gonna do this off camera, but at some point I'm gonna go make, like, a little tiny house somewhere here, or maybe a separate trailer, because I'll give you a spoiler, my next video I'm going to be building a trailer park, and then that's where Aubrey is going to have grown up, and, like, where his parents live and whatever. See, God, but then here's the issue with that, though, right, is then it doesn't make sense that now, you know, if Aubrey and Devin can afford this really nice house, it doesn't make sense for Aubrey's parents and siblings to still be living in the trailer. Like, they deserve a small house somewhere that he helped pay for, because he loves his family. You know what I'm saying? But, like, yeah, so I'm gonna make a trailer park. Maybe. I think, you know what? I think his brother, Sean, probably still lives in a trailer, but I bet he's moved out at this point. And then we'll design a little house somewhere for, what are they called? Aubrey's parents and his sisters. Yeah. But then I'm gonna have to go and design the whole trailer that they all lived in with the baby and all this. Like, oh, what the frick? Crazy. But yeah, like, see what I mean? There's just, like, empty space. And then my go-to for when I feel like a room is just really empty looking is, oh, let me put a rug. I didn't want to put a frickin' rug here, because no hate, who puts a rug on carpet? If you do, no judgment, I probably would as well, but it just feels a little wrong to me. I didn't want to do that. And yeah, but Catherine's room, I'm so upset I didn't show you a better view of it, because it's quite literally my favorite thing I've ever made in The Sims. Genuinely. Like, Victor Russo, his house is my favorite house I've ever made, and it's, like, fully finished. I just love it. But Catherine Scott's room is, like, the most perfect thing ever. Then I had some, like, graduation stuff, like, whatever, and also a picture of Devin and Mindy, Aubrey's mom. So I put those up. Not here, I moved them down to the office. And then I gave them their graduation pictures back, because I just felt like they were too big, and, like, I didn't think they really cared like that. Let's see. Okay, now let me talk about some future lore. Also, Catherine Scott, my queen, is, like, my favorite sim of all time. Like, I'm actually obsessed with her. Like, this save file should actually be about her, but it's not, which is fine. Oh, I really struggled with this living room. Once I got my couch down, and then I had issues with the coffee table. I don't know. It was just really hard for no reason. Okay, so if you remember, time travel back to my very first video, when I was talking about how I decided to make this a save file because I realized at one point that I was like so insanely like lost in the plot. I went so far out of like the original storyline that I was just like, whoa, wait a second, like this is crazy. And the like example I used, like, well, actually the person that I was working on, that I was like, oh, what the frick? So I'm gonna go back to my very first thing to explain like how we got to the Scott family, right? So I had my original family, the Rivers family, who we still haven't met, that is triplet toddlers, and then I made each of them a love interest, one of which is Dylan Scott, okay? And then one of the other love interests has a younger sister, and so Dylan has a younger brother, and I thought that the younger siblings could get together. But Dylan also has an older sister, Catherine, and then I was like, pause, she needs a love interest. And so that's why I made Theodore Russo in the first place, is he was just her love interest. And then I started playing the Russo family, and so then I made Victor, so Theodore's dad's sister, Theodore's aunt. I made Sophia, the aunt, and then I made her girlfriend. And so, again, back to my original thing, is I went from my main character, being a Rivers triplet, the main character's love interest, Dylan, main character's love interest, older sister, Catherine, main character's love interest, older sister's love interest, Theodore, main character's love interest, older sister's love interest, aunt, Sophia Russo, main character's love interest, older sister's love interest, aunt's girlfriend. Like, and you know what I'm saying. That was probably so stupid for no reason. But like, yeah, I was like lost in the plot. But I love Catherine. She's cool. Future lore. I don't know about Theo, but I know that she's gonna date somebody else in high school. I don't know whether it's gonna be like an amicable breakup or not. And I didn't want to do like a whole stupid thing where in my head her boyfriend could have been like, you're always hanging out with Theo, you're in love with Theo, and she's like, no, I'm not, and then they end up getting together. That's not the vibe here. Like, they're not gonna, it's not like a whole, like, we're not acknowledging our love for each other. It's not that. It's like, they're childhood friends, she gets a boyfriend, so they kind of stop being friends, not like, just like kind of out of respect for her boyfriend, they kind of distance themselves and whatever, and then take some time away in college or whatever, and then somehow meet back up, like, years later when they're, like, I don't know if it's gonna be young adult, maybe even adult, maybe I'll push it back, but it's not, like, a super big drama-filled thing. Like, they just get together years later after they'd stopped being friends for a bit. And that's kind of her stuff. I want her to be a lawyer, I think, either a lawyer or a politician, and Theodore is also either a lawyer or a politician. As you can see here, I went back and added this dark wood flooring, and then I changed the wallpaper because, again, I can't keep doing the light blue with the white all over the place. Like, I need to move on from that idea at some point. I mean, I kept it, I didn't change, like, the furniture and whatever, but, like, I just needed to pick something else once. Dylan, as stated, had a love interest who is no longer his love interest, because since I've decided to make this a save file, I didn't feel like I had to limit it to a certain person yet, necessarily. The reason why I'm sticking with it with Catherine is because, I don't know, I just love the idea of Catherine and Theodore together, which, like, I sound crazy, because these are literally Sims, but, like, they are so meant to be together. A whole separate thing. Okay, and then yeah, I don't know what Dylan's gonna do. At first, I was also trying to get them all in different careers, so I was like, oh, he's gonna be a police officer. No, he's not. I don't know what he's gonna do. And then Forrest is like a geek. He's gonna be like a hacker or something, freak. I think he's gay. I don't have a love interest for him because originally the love interest is this other Sim's younger sister. She's also kind of gay, though. So I think they're like, they're still definitely, like, best friends. Like, they're locked in. But I think they're both gay, to be honest. And that's where I am with that. Yeah. So my next video, I'm going to be building the trailer park, and I'm going to be moving... see, that's the problem. I really need to decide who's living in the trailer park or what. I think at least Sean is, but I'm going to show you the rest of Aubrey's family in that video. So, that'll be cool. Yeah, so again, just like with the Russo family, this is one of my original 5 families. This was number 4. The Russos were the 5th family I made. This is the 4th family I made. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I love them so much, and I feel like you can tell by the amount I'm just talking about them and not actually about the build. I feel like most of the time I try to also talk about the build, but I just, like, I always have so much to say about them, and I love them so much. I put these curtains on. I don't really like them. So, yeah, let me just wrap this up. I'm unsatisfied with this build, but combined with the fact that I had spent 3 hours building it the night before just for my game to, like, get stuck on the saving screen and not work, I just felt so insanely burnt out. Like, my vision was blurry. I felt like I couldn't find anything good. So, like, I'm not fully satisfied with this build, and I'm gonna make changes to it. At some point when I do a lore video on these people, I'm gonna show you the changes that I made and everything. But I just was not satisfied with this, because I got kind of burnt out. So, this is not my best work, and I will, like, I keep repeating myself, but at some point I will go back and change a couple things, make it better, but this is at least a general idea of what's going on, and this took me 3 hours to film, so that's totally awesome. I will see you next week, where we're gonna build a fun trailer park, I think. I don't know how to build a trailer park. I'm gonna have to look at inspo and stuff, but that's it from me this week. Goodbye.